Well, in less than a year, Americans will be heading to the polls to vote for the next president of the United States. Tuesday, November 5th, 2024 will be here before you know it. So joining us today to keep us in the know about the 2024 race to the White House is Dr. Megan Leonard of the Department of Politics and Government at ISU. Thank you for being here today, Dr. Leonard.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and this is perfect timing that you're here today. Of course, we just had a GOP primary debate on Wednesday night. It's possibly the final GOP debate as well. So who do you think showed up the best in that debate?
So I would say most people agree that Chris Christie showed up the best, to the extent that that matters at all, right? He's polling quite low, but he had a good performance where he was competent and clear and had a message that's different than everybody else. His message is the anti-Trump message. Nikki Haley also performed pretty well of those non-anti-Trump candidates compared to, say, Governor DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy.
Right, okay, and we will get to DeSantis in just a bit, but of course the big name at the debate is Trump. Even though he wasn't there, he seems to always be a hot topic of discussion. So he hasn't been at any of the GOP debates this season, and that's apparently not hurting him at all. I mean, he's still leading by wide margins in the polls. So how do you think he's able to maintain his front-runner status without attending the debates?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is he's not attending the debates, but he's still in the news all of the time.
Right.
And whether you think, it's good or bad news, we're still talking about him. So he's managing his front-runner status. And even though we're talking about it, it's still very early. And so Trump benefits from name recognition in a way that the others don't.
Right.
Yes, they are, known politically, but not in the way that the public is familiar with a former president. And one of the other things, by not attending the debates, he can't make mistakes at the debates.
That's true.
And so he's saving himself in that way as well.
Got it. And I know you just previously mentioned Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. A lot of people thought that he would be Trump's biggest GOP rival, but lately Nikki Haley has been gaining some momentum in the polls. What do you think is helping her with that?
She's tried to walk a line between being anti-Trump and pro-Trump, and she's been much more successful in a way that Governor DeSantis haven't been. She also got a massive, massive support last week with the Koch brothers saying that they will put their money behind her, and so she has that money. And she also has foreign policy experience, which is huge for a president, which you don't get as a governor, but as a former ambassador to the UN, she has both the gubernatorial experience and that, which makes her, I think, a more well-rounded candidate than the others. And finally, she just simply comes across better than Ron DeSantis, who can at times look awkward, and she just presents much clearer.
Got it. And as you said, she has a pretty lengthy resume, so that, I'm sure, helps her a lot in the polls. And so a lot of people have been talking about the potential for a Trump-Biden rematch in 2024. And I believe there's only 6 presidential rematches in U.S. history. If this one were to happen, how do you see that one going?
It's going to be quite interesting. I think that's the most likely outcome right now, would be a Trump and Biden rematch. But we don't know the state of either of them at that point. We don't know if former President Trump will have been found guilty. We don't know where his trials will be. We have very little information in a way that is unlike any other election, because there are so many questions with former President Trump. But it's hard for current President Biden. He's in a position where whatever's happening today is on his watch. Right. And so if we have a bad economy, we're dealing with wars and, on 2 fronts, all of that is he's going to be held to account for that. And so it will be a rematch from almost exactly the opposite positions that they were in before, with all of the extra complications of all of the criminal trials of former President Trump.
Right, the legal issues for Trump, and then for Biden, there's also the questions about his age and mental fitness to be president. So there's a few different factors and components here.
Yeah, with both of them, they are older than almost every other candidate we've ever had. Biden being slightly older, he gets, I think, more negative feedback for his age, but it certainly could be an issue for both of them.
Absolutely. Well, quite a lot to keep our eyes on. Of course, 11 months until the election. It seems like it's far away, but it'll be here before we know it. So thank you, Dr. Leonard, for putting that all in perspective for us.
Thank you.
Of course. Stick with us. It is 12:50. We'll be right back.